Check the 40 show.
We are back. Welcome to another episode of the Fantasy 40 podcast with myself, John Dabari, my co-host, Mr. Matt Walker, missing in action now, as always, Mr. Andrew Burke. Today we're getting into some more redraft stuff. Season is drawing closer. I have one of my oldest redraft leagues draft coming up next weekend. Walk's got a little game planned for us. We're going to look at some other oddities in ADP and scoring and points and all that other stuff. So, Walk, how you doing, and what do you got planned for today?
I'm doing well, and I have to be honest. Our pre-show conversations are getting more and more interesting by the week. So, listen at the outtakes for what you might find to be a interesting story, shall we say?
Might just pivot to a non-football pod.
Yeah, we are if nothing diverse, but I'm good. Yeah, another Burkless episode, so we can't say Burkian. I think was the prior Burklessian is what this podcast is going to be. So looks like another strong editing opportunity for me on the Fantasy 40. Continue to return value. But no, I'm doing good. And yeah, we decided we are going to do a little would you rather. And I said I'm picking guys at similar ADPs, and I'm going to throw it over to Mr. Dabari over here, and he is going to pick which guy he would rather. So it's almost like a you're on the clock type situation in a draft because you're not likely getting both of these players since they have similar ADPs. So at that position, which would you rather take and why? And then a little late 2020 guarantees where John and I are going to guarantee that blank player scores more points than he did last year. And I did put a caveat that we cannot use guys with significant games missed due to injury. So we are not going to say that Cam Newton will outscore his 2019 total in week 1, which he might do.
Block.
Not a fly. So we're going to dive into the would you rather game. And as we usually do, we're going to start right at that sexy running back position. And I think you might have a difficult time with this one. I wanted right out of the gates try to find one that I didn't think I knew the answer to for you. And we're using FFPC ADP right now. And it is at 16th overall. You are choosing between Nick Chubb and Kenyon Drake.
Oh, Nick Chubb.
Boom,
Not even
like
close. That. Yeah. It's an easy one.
See, you love Kenyon Drake, so that's a problem.
No.
I know you love Nick Chubb.
I love Chubb. I don't like Drake at all.
You hate Drake? I feel like you were on the other side of that. Maybe I've misplayed my hand early on.
I like Chase Edmonds.
Yeah, I know you like Chase Edmonds. I feel like I was going hard against Drake early, and
I don't mind Drake. I think his ADP is a little high. I do like what he did to close out the year, but I think Chubb, top running back in the NFL upside. He could be the best real-life football player. I realize his fantasy ceiling is capped, but a year, 2 years from now, if you told me Nick Chubb was the best running back in the NFL, I would be 100% on board. I love him.
Yeah, I'm there. Kareem Hunt does cap his upside a little bit more than I think Chase Edmonds does in Arizona. I mean, Drake already has the walk-in boot on, and he's never really shouldered a load for a full year. So I'm going Chubb on that one as well, but I didn't think it would be that obvious. Okay, since that one was a dud, we're just going to move right to the next slot. That who knows now? I'm off, but these are two of your guys unequivocally, and it's literally the next two slotted players that are right around pick 19. And it is Austin Eckler and Aaron Jones.
Whew, that's a tough one. I thought there was going to be another name sprinkled in there. This one's tougher. I think Eckler is safer. Obviously, what the Packers did in the draft, bringing in Dillon, knowing the system LaFleur kind of put in place in Tennessee with big power back and going heavy with him. Sure seems like Dillon is the guy that's going to fit in there. Eckler, they brought in, what's his name, Kelly. They still have Jackson there. Do I think Eckler's going to produce as well as he did last year? No, but I think he's definitely the safer of the two. I think Aaron Jones's upside is really capped this year. So I will go Eckler for 2020.
See, Aaron Jones, at least for one more season, I'm not going to be scared by the massive thighs of A.J. Dillon for this season. Now, Dynasty, who knows? Eckler got his new deal. Aaron Jones is on the last year of his. Future's uncertain. I just want to go on record. I'm terrified of Austin Eckler this year. He is uniquely talented, and he was uber productive last year, but it was as a receiver. It wasn't pretty as a running back. That's not his calling card. And you have to attribute some of Eckler's success to Phillip Rivers. I mean, I'm not going to just totally dismiss Eckler's abilities and skill set, but Phillip Rivers is one of the best at throwing to the running back in the history of the NFL. I mean, his track record of success is unparalleled as far as productive receiving backs. So even if it's a 50-50 split in Rivers prioritizes the running back and Eckler is good at it, you rip away that 50% opportunity in the receiving game. And I'm sorry. And what do you have? He had like 8 receiving touchdowns last year. He might not have 8 receiving touchdowns for the rest of his NFL career. I mean, it's not a sticky stat as far as receiving stats for running backs are concerned. So give me Aaron Jones all day in redraft over Austin Eckler.
I am nothing but an Aaron Jones apologist. Just this is the name of the game here. But yeah, no, that's a good one. Because I do love Jones, and I think he could do what he did last year again. But Dillon coming in there, and just the way LaFleur treats everybody on that offense, it just scares me off a bit.
Yeah, I don't disagree with your assessment. I'm just going to buy one more year of Aaron Jones. All right. I'm going to pivot off the next one because the answer was obvious, but it just still struck me as odd of similar ADPs. So I'm not even going to say them because it's not even worth us wasting our time. I'm going to just go down to 2 guys where I can't wait for the hemming and hawing to begin on your side. And these guys are 3 slots apart, so they're not.
Do the easy one. Do the easy one quick.
Yeah, Gurley or Fournette, both at pick 30.
Oh, now see, you thought that was an easy one. I'm really on the fence here, and I love my man Fournette. I think Gurley is. I'm going Gurley now. Gurley, wow. I think gets a ton of red zone work. He may not see a huge yardage total, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if Gurley led the NFL in touchdowns. Even hobbling in. Going to give him the ball on the 10. He's going to hobble in there. Look, he's obviously, even injured, he's more talented than Freeman.
Yeah, no argument. That did surprise me, though. I thought Fournette, you would just hammered home with a mid-third round pick as bullish as you are. But you're right. Both these guys, here and now, I do like Gurley's situation in Atlanta much better than I like Fournette's situation in Jacksonville. And who knows what the future holds for either of them. But we are talking FFPC redraft here. So I thought you'd say Fournette. I'm proud of you because I believe Gurley is the correct answer.
I like them both, especially this year. And now that Gurley, his injury price is baked into his ADP now, he's got league-winning upside. I mean, if he's healthy, I mean, they're saying he's limping around. What running back isn't limping after year 5 or whatever he's in now? Almost all of them. So if he can even come close to what he did the first couple of years of his career, that guy, I wouldn't be shocked if, 5 months from now, we're looking back and saying Todd Gurley is the guy on the most championship team rosters.
Yeah, I mean, the running back 1 overall, a mere 2 years ago? And before he was up, before McCaffrey took the throne, it was Gurley for 2 years as, the top of the heap before the injury started acting up. And I saw Gurley workout videos where he was either squatting or leg pressing ridiculous amounts of weight with relative ease. And I also saw camp highlights where he was just dancing around in between plays, which I have bad knees. I don't dance anymore whatsoever.
That's fine.
Yeah, so I'm not that worried about Todd Gurley, especially in redraft. And yeah, that's a value. You're getting him as your RB2. Maybe your RB1 if you go wide receiver heavy. Who knows? All right. Didn't see that one coming, but glad you had me bring it up. Two guys that as I stated, I think the hemming and hawing will begin. I know you won't take either of them. You'd go in a totally different direction if you're on the clock, but you had to. All right. And they're a mere 3 picks apart in the mid 30s, so 34 and 37 respectively. And it's Melvin Gordon and James Conner.
Oh, you're right. I don't want either one of them. You bastard. You've backed me in a corner here. I'm going to go James Conner because James Conner has the job. He's the starting back there. As much as we like Jalen Samuels, I don't think he's a threat. McFarland's a rookie. I've said before, I don't trust rookies at all this year. Benny Snell is not going to take the job from him. So it's going to be Conner. Now, will you get a full season out of him? That's always up for debate. On the other hand, I don't think Lindsey's going anywhere. In PPR, I actually think Melvin is going to have a better year than we think because I think he ends up being – I think their roles kind of get flipped. I think people are expecting Lindsey to catch more passes and Gordon to run the ball more. I think Lindsey ends up taking over the running job and Gordon kind of turns into more of a change of pace guy. Not that he's going to be a change of pace guy, but I think kind of what people have in their mind is backwards. So Lindsey scares the shit out of me more than anybody else scares me to get targets and touches away from Conner. So in the most disgusting, regretful pick I'll ever make in my life, I guess I'll take Conner.
Yeah, and again, that's the correct answer because Phil Lindsey isn't going to go away. And I do think that Gordon, and they're already talking about how he's having trouble in altitude and stuff like that, and that Phil Lindsey's looked amazing. What they just realized with Phil Lindsey is he shouldn't be on the field on passing downs. So that can be Gordon's bag. And listen, Royce Freeman had 43 receptions last year.
Surprisingly, not bad.
Yeah, so you're telling me that Melvin Gordon has 50 reception upside with like 180 carries? It's interesting. But barring injury, James Conner is going to be the bell cow in Pittsburgh, and I think they're going to want to run it a lot, especially with Ben coming back off that elbow surgery and play old school Steelers football. So I agree with you.
Real quick, just to brought up Royce Freeman's name. Do you know where he finished last year?
Well, I do have it in front of me, so it wouldn't be much of a shock.
So he, surprisingly, a running back 40 finish in PPR, right around James Conner, Duke Johnson, David Johnson, Jordan Howard. Just behind him, guys like Gus Edwards, Tariq Cohen, Breida, Frank Gore. Talk about a guy who is – I think it's because he didn't do great as a rookie, and a lot of people, had him super high. That guy's still a value, and I don't even care they brought Gordon in.
Yeah, Royce Freeman deserves better. He hasn't been the best running the ball, but he's above serviceable, and I've heard rumblings that he might be a target of the Eagles to be some support for Miles Sanders, and I would love that as an Eagles fan because we can use an upgrade behind Sanders and without being a total threat. But, yeah, Freeman's better than, I think, running back 40 overall. So you're giving Gordon that role in those touches where, again, last year, 132 rushes, 43 receptions for Royce Freeman. Gordon's going to see more than that, but I'm still on Team Conner. All right, we're going to skip a bunch and go down, and then we're going to get out for running backs. And this is one where it's which handcuff do you want? And it's 121 overall. So we're talking 10th round in a 12-team league, and it is Tony Pollard versus Latavius Murray.
It's Tony Pollard. I love him this year.
Tony Pollard is the correct answer. He has standalone value.
I'm digging in that a bunch. Yeah.
Latavius Murray is more injury-related. I mean, Tony Pollard, rocket ship if anything happens to Zeke. But, you've spoken tremendously about McCarthy and his proclivities at the running back position. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if Tony Pollard gets 150-plus touches.
That's where I'm at.
Yeah. All right. That would not as ironically, the one I thought was the easiest layup was the one that you surprised me with the most. So kudos to you for having me keep it in there because other than making you pick between Melvin Gordon and James Conner, I would have to say the Todd Gurley surprise was the best part of that part of the running back.
The shitty ones is where it's tough.
Yeah.
I have to put. You said it though. I would obviously pivot and take a wide receiver there.
Yeah. So obviously, I structured this game incorrectly, where I should look for similar ADP guys that you hate, where I just went with guys that interestingly were going by each other. So maybe I'll try and scroll down and find guys I know that you hate in this segment while you tackle the first one. And it's just one that hits near and dear to my heart, and it's at 21-22 overall. We're now on wide receivers now, and we are talking about Julio Jones and Chris Rod Godwin.
Ooh, boy. You're right. I'm humming and hawing. This is a tough one because we're talking redraft. You know, I'm almost starting to. For a long time, I was on team never Julio. Just his inability to get in the end zone is pretty terrifying. But we've talked about it before. I think the Falcons are going to be trash. I think they're going to have to pass the ball a lot. He obviously is going to get the reception and yardage stats he always gets. I wonder if he's due for some positive touchdown regression. You know what I mean? There's got to be eventually a year in there where he gets 16. Is it going to be this year? I don't know, but they're going to throw the ball fucking 630 times or some ridiculous number. So the upside is there. Godwin, the concern with me is we've talked about it before, just Brady coming in and what Brady wants to do, what Arian wants to do. I think Godwin's the safest of all their receivers, but I think I want league-winning upside, and it's a tough one, but I'm going to go Julio by the slightest of hairs. And I know Julio
has 9 seasons under his belt, and only 2 of them did he see less than 128 targets in a season. And it was his rookie year where he only played 13 games, and his third season where he only played 5 games and still had 60 targets. So he was getting 12 targets a game during that short period. So he was going to
highest target year.
203 targets in the 2015 season where he caught 136 balls for 1871 and still only had 8 touchdowns.
He's going to be just shy of that. They're going to throw it 600 and change, and he's going to get about a third of those.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're going to be bad, and I think they're going to throw it a ton. And it's very limited passing tree with him, Ridley, Hurst, a little bit of Gurley out of the backfield, maybe a sprinkling of Russell Gage. It's not going any deeper than that, barring injury. So you may be ready if he stays healthy, and I can't argue with you. I mean, I'm just happy that Chris Godwin is in the Julio conversation at this point in time because it's where he belongs. And both of those gentlemen are going about 10 picks before Mike Evans at 31, which is still too high for Mike Evans, in my opinion. Okay, so now I think I found it. At 39 overall, Allen Robinson or Odell Beckham Jr.?
It's actually easy. Beckham. I'm all aboard Beckham this year. I think, we're talking redraft, but I wrote something for DLF where just speaking in terms of dynasty and people falling off the cliff. For 4 years, Beckham was the first or second overall pick in dynasty leagues, and then all of a sudden he's, in the third round. So the upside is there. We all know what the upside is. So give me the possible wide receiver 1 overall in Beckham over Allen Robinson, who I have come around a bit on this year, even though I'm not a huge fan.
Yeah, well, I knew Allen Robinson was just going to wear you down eventually, but that you weren't team Allen Robinson. So I thought you might go Beckham. Beckham now technically an early 4th round pick in
gross
redraft, which he was a perennial 1st round pick 2 years ago. You
mentioned Gurley going in the 3rd. I mean, depending, obviously where you are in the draft, if you get a decent running back wide receiver in rounds 1 and 2 and come back and go Gurley Beckham, obviously depending who you land in the first 2 rounds, but in theory, because they're going that high, you have 4 players in 4 rounds who have a legitimate shot of finish. You could have 1 and 2, 1 and 2 at running back wide receiver.
Yeah. I mean, my answer is Allen Robinson in this one because I'm all on Allen Robinson for the breakout season, but don't begrudge it. The value for Odell Beckham.
No.
we've seen wide receiver one in his range of outcomes. And I mean, I know Allen Robinson's tickled the upper echelon in his Blake Bortles season, but Beckham has had the 15 touchdown season on his resume. Am I being a little bullish on Beckham with a 15 touchdown season? No, he's multiple double digit touchdown seasons. I'm going to go find this real quick just so I can verify. He started his career off 12, 13, 10. So that's what we've always been missing from Julio. So he hasn't hit the 15, but he hit 13 in a season. And God, it's just not been as pretty the last few. He injured 4 games in 2017 with the Giants. Yeah. Only played 12 in 2018. Still had 1,006 in that one. And then his first season that I was expecting the world of him. And he tanked my Scott Fishbowl team last year. And it's somehow he only had 1,035 with 4 touchdowns in his first season with Baker.
Got the targets, though. Just did nothing with them. So hopefully that changes.
Yeah. So he's played 16. Yeah, so he's only 27, so he's not dead. He's going to be 28 in November, but you're right. I mean, how the mighty have fallen at this point in time. All right, moving down a little further, skipping all these middle guys, and we're going to one where these two gentlemen share the exact same ADP, 109.97. I mean, exact. There's I didn't have to stretch on this one. And I found it as interesting because they're not the alpha on their team. Clearly, at this point, I think they're both upsidey guys that are fresh in the mind of dynasty drafters. And it's Christian Kirk and CeeDee Lamb.
Ooh. Oh, boy. That is a toughie. Let's think it through live like I'm on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. So, Lamb, who I like, but he's got Cooper and Gallup, who I love, in front of him. Zeke catches a decent amount of passes out of the back. Pollard, I think, is going to be involved. No real threat from the tight end, but Lamb is super talented. Then Kirk, who is going to get his targets dramatically reduced with the addition of Hopkins there, but Fitzgerald will still get more than him. No tight end to speak of. They're going to throw a bit to the backfield to Drake and Edmonds. Oh, boy. I would have said Lamb, but I really think the Cardinals are going to kick up the volume like they were talking about doing last year. I think with full year under their belt under that system and kind of getting everything in place, they seem to be happy with Drake as the fit they wanted. I think Kirk might get the extra volume, and he's more familiar with the system with this wacky offseason. So if I didn't think it out, I would have just said Lamb on instinct, but I'm going to go Kirk now. I've talked myself into Kirk.
Redraft, I'm with you. Obviously, Dynasty, not even close. But Kirk had 108 targets in 13 games last year. He wasn't super productive with them. He only had 68 catches for 709 yards and 3 touchdowns. But Hopkins there isn't a death knell for Kirk. It's going to just shift coverage for him. And the way that they spread that ball around, I still think there's upside for more with Christian Kirk. It wouldn't be a stretch if a 900 yard, 6 touchdown season. I don't think it's even relatively close to a stretch. And I think he has upside for more. He could put 1,000 yards on the ledger this year. So I would go with Kirk as well. But when I just saw their ADPs, I was like, we got to talk about
it. It is interesting, yeah.
About these two being drafted at the same exact spot. It's immense upside versus unknown, I think is where we go at this point in time. And I didn't have any more, but I want to give one more because I'm having fun with this. So let's look. And we're going to go with a team stack, and it's at 84.5. So 85 overall with both of these gentlemen. We're talking redraft. Are we going Tyler Boyd or AJ Green?
You know what's funny? If this morning I was listening to the Sirius XM fantasy station, and Jeff Radcliffe, another Philly guy like yourself, was talking about AJ Green, and I would have said AJ Green. And I said, he's got, a top 12 wide receiver upside. And he was talking about AJ Green this morning, and he said, I know people say he's got upside, but what is it? The last 2 years, he has no upside, and he's already hurt in camp. And because I had been targeting Green in some mocks and some other stuff, and I think I'm going with that mindset now. What is the upside? I mean, we haven't seen it in years, so I don't know if the upside's there with Green like we're used to. Boyd is going to give me a nice solid floor, and he's got upside if Green misses time. T. Higgins is already banged up. They said Auden Tate looks good in camp, but he's obviously never going to be a true stud number one. So, yeah, give me Tyler Boyd.
Yeah, I think I'm going to give a John DeBar answer here. It depends on my team build at this one. If I'm solid, I'm going AJ Green because I know we haven't seen it recently, but we know what AJ Green's upside is, and it's one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. If he can stay on the field with Joe Burrow, Boyd just has the pretty little floor. I don't think he has the upside that you reference him having. I just think he has a solid floor. I think his upside's limited. So that wasn't nearly as appealing as I wanted it to be. So there's the guy right above them, which is still pick 84. So on the same ballpark, I think both of us would take over either one of these guys. I just want to verify. Michael Gallup.
Oh, love Michael Gallup.
Taking him over both Cincinnati guys?
Oh, definitely over AJ Green. I'm
buying in.
Yeah.
All over him, calling him a wide receiver one. We both love him. There'll be enough passes to go around. I think.
Yeah, the old gun to my head, have to make a decision. Boyd or Gallup right now? I guess Gallup.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too. So, correct answer. All right, tight end. We're just going to do a hodgepodge right here as we've spoken incessantly about waiting till late, and we just keep talking about the same guys over and over and over because the grouping's not going to change. It's like there's the top tier, there's the ugly middle class, and then there's the peasants. Well, we stay with the peasants, our guys. All right. And I'm not going to give you the obvious. I went under Jonnu because the answer is always Jonnu when Jonnu is in multiple choice.
I had that problem putting together the who's going to outscore as I went through tight ends. I'm like, all these guys.
Yes, there is. This is the year. So going right under him, Jonnu, by the way, is 110 overall. Still tremendous value. Telling you, you can still wait. He's going after Dallas Goedert, 10 picks after Dallas Goedert. I don't get it. I love Dallas Goedert. I think he has tremendous upside, but Jonnu Smith doesn't have Zach Ertz standing in his way to elite tight end production. And I know I know Dallas Goedert was a tight end one last year. Just believe me, it's Jonnu Smith. This is Jonnu Smith season. Right under him, going picks from 121 through 128. This fearsome foursome: Rob Gronkowski, Blake Jarwin, Jack Doyle, Ian Thomas. You can only walk away from your draft with one of those guys. Who are you taking?
Okay. All right. Who is it? Gronk,
Blake
Doyle,
Jarwin, Ian Thomas.
Oh fuck, that's a bad one. I love Ian Thomas, but I like I've said before when we were talking about DJ Moore, I don't know what that team's going to look like. My gut pick is Ian Thomas. I'm not going Jarwin, just too much competition for work. Gronkowski's obviously got the upside, but boy, does he get hurt? You know what? Let's do it. Let's go nuts. Gronkowski.
That's where I'm at too. If I'm this low, I'm just going with the highest upside, and it's Gronk. I mean, we've seen he's been tight end one, and it's with this quarterback. We're not even trying to project out, but it also could end terribly. So who knows?
My thought too was the red flag with him for years has been, he's going to get banged up, he's hurt. However, he did take a year off. I'm sure he took care of his body as best as he can, whatever that means for him, whether that's copious amounts of alcohol and models and CBD oil, whatever the fuck he's selling. So it might be, maybe that year off does him good and he can actually come have a full healthy season. And obviously the upside is there.
Yeah, it is there. Listen, you go under him, and there's guys that we both like: Chris Herndon, Irv Smith. I mean, my boy Eric Ebron. There's names even after that list of guys.
Oh yeah,
I cut it because I felt like you would have jumped on one of those a little easier. And I agree with you. I think it's Gronk. But again, just PSA: listen to the names we just said that are all going 120 or later. I mean, that's the 10th round of your draft. You already have 9 spots filled. If you are deep at running back, deep at receiver, go get yourself a quarterback if you want. You could still end up with the likes of Rob Gronkowski or the rest of these guys and stream. Take 2. live the stream at this point in time.
Love it.
All right. And then I did throw 2 quarterback guys in there just because they had exact similar ADPs, and I'm interested in your position on them. And it is 95th overall. So before these tight ends, you could get one of these 2 guys to go at one of these tight ends, and it's Matt Ryan or Carson Wentz.
I'm going to go Matt Ryan for the reasons we already discussed, which is the Falcons will likely be garbage, and they're going to throw an ungodly amount of footballs. So give me Matty Ice.
I'm with you as much as I love Wentz. It's just team construct and how bad I think Atlanta's going to be. All in all, they could throw it 100 times more than the Eagles this year.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
That's just the wise bet. So while I do love Carson, and he is a target of mine in every dynasty league I'm in, it seems, I would go Matt Ryan in redraft. And the other are the value bin guys out of the NFC North, and it's at 111 overall, Matt Stafford or Aaron Rodgers.
Ooh, now here's a toughie for redraft. At the end of the day, this is tough because I've actually added Aaron Rodgers in a couple of leagues this year, but I think I go Stafford. I mean, they gave Rodgers no weapons. Devontae Adams has not been super model of health. So if he does miss even 2-4 games, that's going to ding what Rodgers can do. If they end up taking Aaron Jones out a bit for their new big toy back there, he doesn't have much to pass to out of the backfield. Tight end is a shit show, and they don't use it anyway. Yeah, Stafford, I guess. I never even thought of this. Stafford?
Yep, I'm Stafford too. We both love Galladay. You got to like Marvin Jones as a 2. I think second year is coming for Hawkinson. And then those running backs are both adequate, if not plus pass catchers. Plus for DeAndre Swift, adequate as long as Kerryon Johnson plays. And then you still got Amendola. You got my boy Quintez Cephas, who I do think is going to play a role this year. And their offensive line is decent. And so I'm there. I think Stafford can replicate his pace of last year where he was coming out throughout.
All their other running backs are good too. I mean, you mentioned their top 2 guys, but the little guy whose name I forget that played a handful of games last year, the rookie they brought in, Huntley.
Yeah, Ty Johnson's the other guy you were talking about.
Yeah, they every running back they have is more than adequate as a pass catcher out of the backfield.
Yeah, so I'm there with you. Me, I'm smashing Stafford because it's clear they want to be run based in Green Bay, and they are not giving. MVS is vying for the wide receiver 2. He's supposedly having a strong camp. That's not what I want to hear. That's going to be opposite Devontae Adams. So I'm with you. All right, that was our Would You Rather segment produced by no one. Could be produced by any company that wants to be produced by. Come find us at fantasy40.com. Quick pivot, and we're just going to go to this. I guarantee we're just trying to go a little bit off script, trying not to be boring and just keep talking about redraft. There's only so much to talk about. So we just went through if we're on the clock type guys, who we go with. Hopefully you found a little value in that. And now John and I are going to put personal guarantees in place for following players. And what I said at the beginning of this podcast, and what I put to John, prior to recording is let's not have an injury focus. It can factor in, but don't just go with the layups. Like let's actually put our nuts out there a little bit and make some strong guarantees for some players. So why don't you lead us out, John?
We going quarterback first? Where do you want to start?
Go wherever you want.
Let's go. We'll just go down the position hierarchy. Start with quarterback. So I kind of did a guy at the top, guys in the middle, and then a lower guy that's not a shocker for them to overperform. But let's get nuts. Kyler Murray, 297 points. I already mentioned I think they're going to get the volume going in Arizona this year. If there's offensive volume, who will be the greatest beneficiary of all but the quarterback? So Kyler Murray, I think, scores more than the 297 he scored last year.
I'm with you. I'm high on Kyler Murray. I think he should be easily thought of inside that top 5, especially now that we got Jameis Winston out of there with his season. But, Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Prescott, Deshaun Watson, I think Kyler Murray is fifth in that conversation. So no argument here. I did not do quarterback, so I'm just going to pick one here, and then you can rattle off your other two, and we will move on. But hopefully this resonates with some people here. And I see Gardner Minshew down there at 21 in only 14 games. So on a points per game basis, he was a little better at 17.8, but that still doesn't crack probably in the top 20 just at first blush here. Gardner Minshew will not be yanked at any point in this season. They're going to let him run the string, and the Jaguars are just going to be god-awful. And he's going to have a Blake Bortles season here. So I'm not calling – am I being bold that Bortles was like a top 5, top 6 quarterback that year? It was sickening,
up there.
Outlier. Gardner Minshew is going to be tickling QB1.
I like it.
Quarterback this year. I guarantee it, especially with Laviska Shenault there. Just add Laviska, instant offense. Let's go.
Yeah. The other name I had was Matt Ryan. We've talked about Atlanta a ton here, but I'll jump down quite a bit. Baker Mayfield, 251, who I think ADP-wise is right around Minshew now, if I'm not mistaken. But look, they're surrounded with weapons. It's make or break. First overall pick, this is it. You got to score more than 251 fantasy points, my friend. You have no excuse not to. They've got Hooper and Njoku, his boy Rashard Higgins. They got Landry, Beckham. The backfield is stacked with Chubb and Hunt. If he can't get higher than 251, he is heading towards NFL bust territory. So I think Mayfield scores more points this year. Guaranteed.
Yeah. No excuses either. You know, we were just talking about ODB. There's, Jarvis Landry's already back to practice. They added Hooper. They still have Njoku there. They have pass catchers out of that backfield as well, and Hunt and Chubb. So it should be that type of season for Baker. Baker, 125th overall. Gardner Minshew down at 178. So not similar ADPs. Vastly different. But Baker is in and around the Daniel Jones, Jared Goff, Joe Burrow territory. So some guys that could definitely exceed ADP, but I agree with you. I think a better season's ahead for Baker. All right, moving on to running backs. I'm coming straight out the gate. Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon was running back 13 last year, played 16 games, 207.9 points in half PPR. Smashing that. Joe Mixon is smashing this year. And nothing is going to stop him. Playing 16 games, Joe Mixon is going to be a top 10 running back, top 8 running back, top 6 running back. Joe Mixon, top 6 running back this year. Plays 16 games, top 6 running back. Guarantee it. No one scares me. Gio Bernard doesn't scare me. Travion Williams doesn't scare me. They just cut Rodney Anderson. This is finally treating Joe Mixon with the respect he deserves. Long gone are the days of 35 receptions. Joe Mixon easily north of 50 receptions this year with Burrow. Might tickle 60 receptions. And if he can still have the same 278 carries that he had, he's going to be looking at 1,800 all-purpose yards, if not more, in double-digit touchdowns. And you know how I feel about the Bengals. I was extremely bullish on them in our team predictions.
You do love and the earlier drafted guy was Todd Gurley. Already discussed him and the Falcons a ton on this episode. So I will pivot down to my next guy. Tariq Cohen. Tariq Cohen scored 163 points last year. A year before that, he was running back 11, if I'm not mistaken, in PPR. I think he's just a screaming value going as late as he is. I love me some Tariq Cohen.
All right, so we're going full PPR here.
I guarantee he scores more points this year.
All right, listen, I'm going to just caveat, put the asterisk there. Since John's talking full PPR, I'll pivot. Joe Mixon still finishes RB13 in full PPR, and he was 225.4 points. So still not wavering from my guarantee. Joe Mixon is a beast, and Joe Mixon season is upon us. Next, just because it's obvious doesn't make it not true. And while I took some liberties here with this guy, it wasn't due to injury. It's just because he wasn't the starter all year. And it's that Miles Sanders RB15 from last year, who was active for all 16 games for the Eagles. 218.7 PPR points last year. Smash! Miles Sanders and Joe Mixon are vying for my affection this season, as I can't decide which one I'm higher on. But both of them are going to be RB1s. Both are going to be inside the top 10 at their position this year, especially in PPR leagues where these guys just have such a unique ability in their receiving game. Miles Sanders, 50 receptions last year and wasn't even the full-time starter. Miles Sanders could catch 75, 80 balls this year, and it shouldn't surprise anyone in this offense. So he's my dark horse to be running back one. I'm not.
Bold.
But you want to go dark horse, he's my dark horse because it makes sense to me. But he will be an RB1 this year.
Going bold. Going down a bit, scored 141 PPR points last year, 10.9 a game. Did miss a few, so even with that, I'm going to go with the 10.9 a game. David Johnson, I guarantee, will score more fantasy points in 2020. He's going to be handed the reins. The team clearly doesn't trust Duke Johnson enough to give him significant work. They traded a ton to acquire him. I think they ride David Johnson into the dirt, even if he looks kind of trashy as he did towards the end of the year and isn't 100% or isn't the David Johnson of old. I think they volume him into production, whether he likes it or not. So I love David Johnson this year. I guarantee he outperforms last year.
All right, let's keep digging. Running back, 53 last year. We talked about him earlier. Tony Pollard.
Oh, he's my next one.
89 PPR points. I'm not going to say he doubles, but I'm not going to not say he doubles. It's PPR total there.
I'll say it. He doubles.
Listen, he should be a flex running back. He should be in the top 36. So he was 53 last year. That is a meteoric uprise. But Tony Pollard, who was active for 14 games last year, will smash the over.
Yeah, I agree. I had him too. So
all right.
I will then pivot us over to wide receivers, going a little earlier here. Cortland Sutton, 222 points last year. I think there's more mouths to feed here, but I don't think it matters. I think it actually helps them. Teams can't ignore Judy if Hamler's healthy. I know he's banged up now in camp. They have to play the deep threat there. But they've got Fant, Albert O at tight end. They have enough weapons that I think it softens up the coverage for Sutton, and he is their alpha. So I think Sutton's in line for a pretty big year. I guarantee he scores more than 222 points that he scored last year.
Oh, that was on 72 catches, 1,112 yards, and 6 touchdowns, and 125 targets. Huh?
Hard
to find more than 125 targets for him, so I like where you're at.
I had to go a couple good ones.
No, Captain Obvious here for me, and it's DK Metcalf, who was wide receiver 30 last year, played 16 games, 191.1 PPR points. He is the wide receiver 1 in Seattle, and as much as Pete Carroll wants to continue to be a run-first coach, you do not avoid the explosions that DK Metcalf offers to offenses. He is, again, inhuman. You can't tackle inhumans. He will have an epic second season. 907. I'm not going to say he's going to do it by midseason, John. Yeah, that'd be super bold. DK Metcalf's going 1,210 this year on about 75 catches. And he will be tickling that wide receiver 1 territory. Big second-year breakout for DK. I guarantee it.
I love it. I had Beckham as another one, but we've already talked about him a bunch, so I'll scroll down a bit. Actually, I'll do 2 together, and then you could knock out your guys because their point totals shocked me, and they're both guys I kind of like this year. But Brandon Cooks and Corey Davis finished wide receivers 62 and 63 with 117 and 115 points. I don't know if people are lower on both of them than they need to be, or you know what I mean? That's weird that they almost scored the same points because if you ask 2 people, I think they have vastly different opinions on these 2 guys. But I think they both outscore those points this year. Davis, I think, fingers crossed, 5th-year breakout, please. I need it. 4th year, whatever he's in. Cooks, who I don't love, but I think landed in a good spot going to Houston. He's going to get more work than anybody is comfortable with. I guarantee they outscore their 117 and 115 from last year. I just thought it was weird that they're right next to each other last year.
Yeah, both had 2 touchdowns. That keeps that point total low, but you're right. Cooks across 14 games, Davis against 15, and you're right. I wouldn't have believed it, but I know Cooks missed parts of other games with injuries. I might have got credited for 14, but
you know what I mean? Like the narrative on both of them, and again, I think a lot of it comes from Dynasty, where Davis was an early pick and has pretty much underperformed thus far. So I think people are way lower on him, and Cooks, people bake in the injuries, but he's had a couple really good seasons under him. I think people would be shocked that they were that close last year.
Yeah, agreed. And who I'm looking at that fell right in between them wasn't on my list to talk about, but why not? Let's talk about him. If he wasn't the primary punt returner for the Kansas City Chiefs this year, if I was certain he was off of kick duty, I would guarantee Mecole Hardman outscores both of those individuals. But I can't do that with good conscience. So we're going to go with 2 other guys, and one is Anthony Miller, who across 16 games only had 129.5 points. I think Anthony Miller breakout season is coming, especially if Nick Foles gets the starting gig. And then my other, who was a little higher up previous page, was wide receiver 39 overall, Mike Williams, who put up 161.3 points. Only 2 touchdowns himself last season, just over 1,000 yards. So Mike Williams has already checked the 10 touchdown box, has already checked the 1,000-yard box. I'm going to say, check. Mike Williams, 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns. Same season, 2020. I don't care who's the quarterback all season. We're seeing the Mike Williams full breakout come this year. And that was on the news that I just saw on my phone that says he's out for 2 to 4 weeks with a strained shoulder. Still, I'm here. It's a strained shoulder. He's not dead. He doesn't need to practice anymore. Rest up for the regular season. You're catching bombs from Tyrod and Herbert at some point in the year.
I hate me, Mike Williams, but that's a good way to exit the wide receiver conversation. Like I said, so I kind of took it in tiers, guys at the top, guys in the middle, guys at the end. So at the top, I went with Mark Andrews scoring more than his 207 fantasy points. I've declared it on this show before. I guarantee he scores more, and if we want to get crazy, I guarantee Mark Andrews is the tight end 1 in 2020.
All right. The point is to guarantee and not go crazy. We don't put those two together, John. You see how guarantees and crazy aren't.
I've said it before. I believe you said stuff we believe in.
Yeah. Hey, listen, missed a game, wasn't getting the targets, definitely getting the touchdowns, and we know what Lamar Jackson loves him some Mark Andrews. I think I agree with you. It wouldn't shock me if Mark Andrews was the tight end 1 this year. I think he ran pass routes on 61% of all the Ravens plays, I think was my stat if it stuck in my head last year. That number's bound to go up, especially with Hayden Hurst going. So let's go. I'm all for Mark Andrews tight end 1 season. I went Captain Obvious, Jonnu Smith, who was tight end 19 last year. Jonnu Smith, who had 100 and what I'm looking at. I'm on FF today. Your numbers are slightly different than mine, but 104.7 points in PPR last year. Jonnu Smith, double it. Jonnu Smith, welcome to the 200-point tight end club. Which, as a caveat, 5 tight ends hit 200 points last year, and number 5 was Mark Andrews at 209.2. I believe. I think this is the season. He's the second pass catcher. You just put another chip on Corey Davis, which. You're out in Vegas, John. I got to teach you about gambling sooner or later, about bad bets. It ain't Corey Davis, my man. He's the blocker. Jonnu Smith's the one out there running routes, my friend. Give him a couple handoffs. Just get him involved in the offense. I don't think Tennessee's going to be as efficient and as effective running the ball as they were. They just lost Jack Conklin. They're going to try and insert a rookie over there. The continuity just isn't there. I don't believe the game scripts are going to be there. More pass attempts for Tannehill. He liked him, some A.J. Brown, and some Jonnu Smith last year, and I just believe that's going to continue. He had 44 targets last year, John, and was a top 20 tight end. 44, caught 35 of them for 439 yards and 3 touchdowns. Just double it. Give him 90 targets, which doesn't even put him in he's like back end tight end 1s as far as targets are concerned, and I'll guarantee the production.
Don't have to sell them to me. I'm in. I just didn't write them down because I knew you'd have them.
Who you got?
So, yeah, taking the words
Mark Andrews
directly.
and Johnny Smith. We're just like, ah.
Yeah, taking the words out of my heart. Still another on paper, one of the top guys last year who I think gets overlooked quite a bit was tight end 10 last year in full PPR. I guarantee Dallas Goedert scores more than the 144 he scored last year. I think he's a big part of that Philly offense. I don't think Ertz is going anywhere. Do I think he gets banged up? I don't know. But especially with the injuries and other problems Philly has had at wide receiver, talk to me at the end of the season. Ertz 1 in targets, Goddard could be the number 2. So I think they like him. They like to use him. And if anything does happen to Ertz, Goddard is rocket ship up the tight end ranks for fantasy. So I love him. I think 144 is kind of his floor. So I think he outperforms. I guarantee he scores more than 144 this year.
I'm there with you. Dallas Goedert, hairline fracture of one of his thumbs. Supposedly not a big deal, but he also will not be participating in the rest of camp. But listen, I traded David Njoku before he got hurt for Dallas Goedert plus a pick in the league I was in last year. And I was panned for it early on. And I'm like, sometimes you just got to have forethought, And while I don't like the news that from a fantasy perspective that they're opening up talks to re-sign Ertz or put him, sign him to an extension, Ertz was just waiting for Kittle and Kelsey to happen because that will stunt Dallas Goedert's growth. But if they do give Ertz the money that he apparently is looking after and put him in line with those two guys, they're not going to be able to pay Goddard when his number comes calling. So we might just be 3 years away from Goddard going elsewhere, unfortunately, and finally ascending the top totem pole. But they're a 2 tight end friendly offense. So I'm with you. They can thrive. They can coexist.
And the thing we've talked about from the beginning with Goddard was we always anticipated Ertz leaving, Goddard taking over, and it being a tight end friendly offense. And truthfully, even if we had it backwards and Ertz gets the long-term deal, like you just said, and Goddard goes, he's going to go somewhere that uses him, kind of like we saw, Hooper this year go to Cleveland. So no matter what they do, it's a win-win if you're a Goddard believer.
Yeah, so I want it to come to fruition. My other one is Irv Smith, who was tight end 33 last year in 14 games, who scored 79.1 PPR points. Again, double it up. Irv Smith has 160 points in him, which would have put him right at Tyler Higbee level, tight end 8 last year. They're talking about splitting him out. This dude's uber athletic. He doesn't have to worry about blocking assignments with Kyle Rudolph there. If they can get the slightest bit creative with him, as they should, he played H-back. Like they can have him coming out of the backfield, for when he was at Alabama. Like, just don't pigeonhole this kid. Like, move him around the formation, split him out wide, get him in the backfield, out of the slot time to time. Just get him some volume. And no reason he can't get inside. He can be a tight end one. I mean, I don't think anyone would be surprised by him having a second-year breakout and getting inside that top 12, which doesn't take much. 138 points made you tight end 12 last year. So, it's touchdowns again, folks. If you can crack that 5-6 touchdowns and you're a starting tight end, you're probably in the conversation for tight end 1. So I'm saying the points will be there. 160 points for Irv Smith and PPR.
What's funny is Irv Smith on Fantasy Pros anyway scored 79 fantasy points. Do you know who else scored 79 fantasy points? My next pick, Mr. Dawson Knox. I like Knox. I think he got slept on coming out of Ole Miss, if I'm not mistaken, with all those talented wide receivers. He could only do so much, especially in college. I think he's never going to be a top 5 tight end like our guy Jonnu. But I think he's more than capable for fantasy. I think Josh Allen trusts him. Whether he trusts Josh Allen or not is another topic for another day. But I think Dawson Knox out. I guarantee Knox scores more than the 79 fantasy points he scored last season. I think his role expands. I don't think adding Diggs has done anything. They're going to have to throw it to the tight end a bit there. I like Knox, and I think this guy's going to be a annual high-end tight end too for years to come. So I'm a big fan, and I think he's in a really good spot.
Listen, I'm just going to see if I can do this. Where's that camera? See that name right there under Johnny Smith? Dawson Knox. I was there with. I skipped him because I just want to go down and talk to Dawson Smith, and I don't think Dawson Knox has double up ability, so I was just sticking with the double up theme for tight ends. But I'm there with you. I mean, Dawson Knox at 32 in his second year. I don't think that Stephon Diggs is going to hurt what Knox can do, and he could find his way into 5 or 6 touchdowns pretty easily in this offense. Super athletic kid, so I'm interested to see what Knox can do in year 2 as well. So right there with you again, great minds.
Yeah, I think the rest of his career he's going to be 110 to 120 point guy. I think he's going to be a very reliable tight end. If you come out of him every year for the next 6 years with him as your tight end 1, I don't think you're going to hurting.
No, I have him in a few places. I actually traded Hawkinson with a bunch of other pieces, and the tight end I got back in the deal was Knox, and they weren't even the primary pieces in the deal. And I was like, I like Hawkinson more, and anyone should, but Knox was a hell of a consolation prize for me.
Yeah.
When I have Evan Ingram as my starting tight end anyway, so I didn't need Hawkinson, so to trade down to Knox and upgrade. I forget what the trade was. I think it was I got wide receiver help in the deal, if I'm not mistaken. But I was like, okay, I'm fine with that. I like Knox, so I didn't feel like I got taken to the woodshed at tight end either in the trade.
No, not at all.
I mean, Hawkinson or can be a top 5 tight end. I don't think Knox can be because Hawkinson will never leave the field. But I was more than pleased with my consolation of Dawson Knox.
I'm on it. That's all I had. He was my last.
Yep, me as well. We've talked so much about these lower tight ends that's all I'd be doing was talking more about.
Yeah, I like everybody.
Yeah, exactly. I think they all can be great. Just let's get them there. I'm even hearing like a bunch of puff pieces about your boy Jordan Akins looking spry at camp and catching everything for the Texans. So who knows? Maybe that dude finally breaks out before he turns 30. So anything's possible. Tyler Eifert. I think you spoke about him early on. Now that they lost Josh Oliver, Eifert is in line to catch touchdown passes from Gardner Minshew this season, and it wouldn't shock me if he scored 8 touchdowns this year. Just wouldn't. I don't think he's going to have the yardage or the receptions, but he could have the touchdowns this year. So deep, my man. But that was our I guarantee section. Cannot wait to look back at this after the season because I don't think we were very conservative, all things being equal. So
no, not at all. We did
2 fun games, creative as ever. Great content as ever. Why don't you take us out here, buddy?
Check us out on Twitter at the Fantasy 40. We are available on all of your local podcast providers, which you know that if you're already listening. But interact with us on Twitter. We'll try to be a little busier on there as the season kicks off. But for myself, John DeBari, my co-host Matt Walker, we are the Fantasy 40, and we are out. Ow!
Yes. I just got done editing last week's episode, and I kept the whole part in with your kid, just so you
know. Really?
Yeah.
I don't remember what I said. I don't remember what I was saying, Tom.
It was beautiful. It was compassionate. It was caring. It was heartwarming. I'm like, I just got to leave this in.
So there you were.
There I was 1 year ago. Yeah. Someone stole my car out front of my house, like literally right before we put our house up for sale last year. I came out like literally the day we put it up for sale, and I looked outside and I'm like, car's not there. So I go into the wife. I'm like, did you let someone borrow the car? And she's like, no. I said, well, someone did. She's like, what are you talking about? I go, it's gone. She's like, what do you mean it's gone? I go, like, it's not there. It's just gone. Called the police. He came. Had to explain to him everything. I was like, I don't know what to tell you. It was there last night. It's not there today. It's gone. He's like, would you leave it unlocked? I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I don't think so. But we were on we live on a cul-de-sac. Like no cars came through.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out not only did I did leave it unlocked, but B, the valet key was in the center console that I was totally unaware of. Had been in there for God knows how long. So not only did the person not actually have to quote unquote break into our car, they didn't even have to hotwire it. They literally just
You gave your car to someone. Your car wasn't stolen.
I handed my car off willingly, apparently. But he still was going. He was just, turns out the kid was like, mine wasn't the only car on the street. He was just popping doorknobs, and if they opened up, he was just rummaging through the cars and taking money, valuables, anything. Well, my car was like, oh, look, now I have a ride home.
Yes.
Jumped in it, took it for a ride. Turns out he got pulled over like a day later. I don't even find out about it till like a week late, like the end of the week that he even found the car. Dude was like smoking a ton of pot in my car. Totally destroyed it. Sold my golf clubs. Sold a bunch of other stuff.
Oh, no.
Oh, dude. I'm still playing with my old golf clubs to this day. I'm like, I'm not buying new clubs. But I end up going and getting it back from the impound, and I take it and I get it. I take it to my mechanic and submits the appraisal, and insurance agrees to pay for all this type of stuff, and they fix it. And so I just get the car back. But when I went to impound to get it, the cop did tell me, rightfully so, you should probably call your local precinct and tell them that you have the car. I'm like, well, don't you guys just do that? Like, doesn't get removed from the stolen vehicle registry when I come and recover it? And he's like, well, yeah, but you probably still want to let him know. Well, I didn't let him know.
So how much time now are we talking from when it was stolen until
a couple weeks, because they had to fix it. It took like a week or two to fix it. I get my car back, and it's like early one morning. I was actually driving to go to golf, ironically enough, with a client in my car, and I see a cop make a U-turn behind me at an intersection, and I was like, "That's strange." He was making a turn, now a U-turn behind me. Next thing I know, he's behind me. So I was
Did you think of it immediately, or no? You're just thinking it's weird.
Absolutely no clue. So he puts on his siren, and I literally get all the way over to the side of the road, like, oh, he must want to get past me. He keeps coming behind me, and I'm like, what the fuck? And
so still nothing.
It's still not connecting. I was like, did I run a red light? What did I do? So I turned off onto a side street. And I put the thing in park. I was listening to, I forget what I was listening to. I was listening to something on my phone. So it wasn't even like the radio. And I look in the rear view, and there's like 6 cop cars behind me. This whole street's blocked off. The cop that pulled me over is now outside of his car, behind his door, gun drawn, yelling at me to turn off the car, take the keys out of the window, open the door slowly from the outside, all that type of stuff.
Now do you got it?
It was percolating at that point in time. I'm like, this doesn't happen for running a red light. So, it was like slowly start walking back to me, hands interlocked, whole nine. And, to get grabbed by 2 grown ass men, forced to the ground, face on the ground, rip my knee wide open. And they throw me in cuffs, and they pick me up. And I was like, I know what this is.
So now you're fully aware before they said anything.
And so the cop, I was like, I forget what he said. Like, I don't think he even told me, like, why I pulled you over. I was like, this is a big misunderstanding. He's like, literally just give me 2 minutes. I'll go explain it to you. And so the dude has my phone, like, because he took everything out of my pocket, put it in the car. And he's grabbed my phone.
Where's your client now? What's going on with the guy that's...
Oh, I ended up golfing that day. That was the irony of it all. But
no, is he still in the car?
Or no, I wasn't. No, I was going to drive to meet the client. He was.
Oh, okay. Oh, I thought that would have been way better. Fantastic. Yes.
But so he's grabbed my phone, and he's like, "Well, let me call your wife." And I was like, "Well, she's not going to answer." And my wife, notorious, never has her cell phone on her, and definitely not at 8:00 in the morning when I was driving up there. And he's like, "Well, why not?" I was like, "Because I just told you she's not going to." Like, I'm not creating a storyboard here for you. And so he's like, and I have a lock on my phone. He's like, "Well, give me your password." And I was like, "No."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Why?" I was like, "Well, because I'm not giving you permission to go through my phone." And he just looks at me. I was like, "I didn't do anything wrong. If you want to give me the phone, I'll do it, and I'll call her." And he's looking at me. I was like, "Or we can just sit here." I was like, and it's worse. I was like, do whatever you can do. Call Abington Township, and ask what happened. I could tell you the day it was stolen, what happened, everything about this goddamn car. I didn't steal it, But at this point, I'm in the back of the paddy wagon, like cuffed up, nothing, and like crushing my hands with the the cuffs, but he ends up. Oh no, I'm sorry. I apologize. Incorrect assessment story. After he tried to, I did give him the code, and after he tried to call my wife because I was like, "Listen, she's the first one under favorites." He started to try and go through my phone. And I was like, "I didn't give you permission to go through my phone, so put it the fuck down." And he looked at me. I was like, "Dude, I didn't do anything wrong. You're not treating me like I'm a fucking criminal right now. Like this is a misunderstanding that got blown wildly out of proportion." And so after like 10 minutes, I forget how they called a few different places, and he's like, it seems as though your story checks out, but I might not be able to let you drive away with the car. I was like, listen, I'm getting in the car and I'm driving away. I have somewhere to be and I didn't do anything wrong. And he was like, well, we might not be able to let you. I was like,
why did they say they were going to keep the car?
Because it was still listed as stolen. Like it just like it still had to process or something. I was like, dude, whether you drive away and I get in the car or I get in the car and I drive away, I'm getting in the car. I got somewhere to be. And so after about 15 or 20 minutes, they let me out and uncuffed me. And literally, I'm looking back. There's every cop car in my township is behind me at this point in time. I'm like, where the fuck were you when this dope head was stealing my car like 2 weeks ago? Yeah, you're all present, accounted for when I'm driving to play golf on Tuesday morning. But where were you on that Sunday night? My car got stolen. Where the fuck are my golf clubs at? So that's how I expected to spend my Tuesday morning, but it was eye opening. Then so I'm driving to golf and I have to call my client. I'm like, listen, I'm gonna be like a half hour late for our tea time. I'll explain everything to you when I get there. And so we proceeded to have an interesting conversation in the morning about why I was late for my tea time. But yeah, that's it. Yeah, so,
it's a wonderful story.
A little over a year ago. It was last summer.
What kind of car is it?
Volkswagen Passat.
You don't
still have it. Don't drive it anymore. Sitting outside right now. Trying to get rid of it. But yeah, so there you go.
Well, somebody wants it. See if that guy gets out of jail, needs a car.
No, he didn't go to jail. He got let off because my
really?
wife testified. Yeah. Because the cars, I said, I'll go and testify. And they're like, you can't. It's under your wife's name. I was like, well, no one saw him take the car. What's she testifying to? That it's her car? I'm like, she doesn't want to go down and be in front of this
car. Missing?
Yes,
huh? My car was missing. Thank you.
Oh, she did she did an attestation or whatever the hell it is, like where she still said, yes, that's her car. Yeah, I didn't authorize anyone to take it, and I don't know that person. And they still said, because you didn't show up, we had to kick them. I was like, well, could you ask him to tell me where my golf clubs are? Game's gotten better though. I played twice recently and fucking it's so nice. So maybe he did me a favor.